Hello everyone! Welcome to our Tea Club. My name is Tolunay Turgazieva.
And I am Aygirim Khushainova.
Yeah, and we are discussing on how to integrate STEM into our English lessons.
Yes, as Tolunay have already mentioned, we're continuing our series on STEM education. And today's specific lesson will be focused on app development. So we discuss with our students how the apps are developed and what specific features do they all have in common.
Yeah.
The lesson that I have conducted will be divided into two categories, and today we're going to discuss the first stage of the lesson.
While you watch, please pay attention to different activities that were done during the first stage.
Yes, so let's have a look. Alright, hello guys, how are you doing today?
Hello.
Good. Hello.
Yeah. Thank you so much, I'm doing well. Are you ready to work real hard?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, let's put on our thinking hats on. Take your thinking hat, put it on. Great. Okay, so today we're going to talk about apps. We will learn how to design and build an app that could solve some real life problems. Okay? So what are these?
Apps.
Apps, right. They're different.
Yes.
Yeah, there are different kinds of apps. Can you distinguish them? Can we divide them into maybe three categories?
Social network,
Okay, social
online shop,
networking.
and games.
Games and
Some apps, for example, for weather or for calculation.
utilities, right? For example, the calculator, the
Weather.
weather one, for example, some for taxi.
Okay.
And then the last category, I think, is more for
Money.
money, for business, right? For example, Starbucks or Uber, right? The taxi ones. And the social media ones, yes, you're right. So, what role do apps play in our lives? Can you think for a minute and tell me, what do you think? What role do they play?
Games for time killing, social network for sharing your life opinions, things.
Okay.
And
Moksat, you wanted to say something?
Now we can't live without apps. It's like part of our lives.
Okay, so you were saying they play quite a big role in our lives, right? So, I'm pretty sure you all have some apps on your phones, right? Yeah. Okay. Can I ask you to analyze the apps that you have on your phone and write down, make a list. What do they all have in common? And I'm talking about the design part, okay? So what do they all have in common and what features do they have? Okay, I'll give you a couple of minutes to analyze your phone, look at your apps. You can take out your phones. Together. So what apps, what common things do your apps have, okay? Or what features? For example? Logo, okay.
Name.
Okay, name. Own design, own style, okay.
Main colors.
Purpose.
Okay, purpose, great. Great ideas. So thank you so much for sharing. Today, as we mentioned, we will learn how to design an app that will, solve some real-life problem. And as you know, for the past year, we've been all living in a pandemic, right? Where everyone has some constraints, some challenges. Now, can I ask you to think for a couple of minutes and write down what challenges or problems people might have during the pandemic? Okay, so why don't you share your ideas? So what challenges people might be facing nowadays because of the pandemic? No communication, right?
Health.
Okay.
Education.
Before we move on, could you please elaborate? What do you mean by no communication?
They can
People were isolated.
Isolated, right? So there is no real life communication, right? Okay.
Education.
Or maybe isolation, let's say. Okay, thank you so much for your excellent ideas. Today we're going to talk specifically about Kyrgyzstan. And since the summer is coming, and you know our main business, for example, for Istanbul people is tourism, nowadays they're facing the challenge of, you know, they're losing their jobs, they don't have an opportunity to work. So today let's consider this. So pretend that you are a software engineer, okay? And you want to help people to popularize tourism in Kyrgyzstan, okay? And your question is, how would you use the engineering design process to create an app and improve their life, okay? So let's discuss what is an engineering design process. Remember we've talked about when we were coding, when we were helping Chiki to go through the maze, we talked about engineering process, right? What is it? What was it? Were
When
people?
you're creating,
When you create something, when you design something,
when plan.
you plan it,
Give comments.
Test
give
it.
comments,
Test it.
build, test, deploy.
Exactly. So you think of a design, you kind of code, build, right, and then you test something. See, does it work or no? So if there are some problems or challenges, what do?
Fix them.
You fix the problem, right? So you actually deploy, so you actually, you know, redesign again and learn, and then the circle repeats, right? So again, today you are going to be an engineers, okay? You're software engineers, and your task will be to create an app that will help to popularize tourism in Kyrgyzstan, okay? So the first thing I want you to identify a problem. So together with a partner, I want you to list 5 ways you and your family's lifestyle or traveling habits changed as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay? So remember we brainstormed, we listed some problems, but they were quite general. Now let's make it more specific. For example, not eating out at restaurants. So for example, restaurants in Istanbul, they're facing what kind of problem?
Nothing.
They didn't have customers.
No customers. If they don't have any customers, what's the problem?
No money.
No money, right? They're losing their jobs. And if they don't have any money, then they probably won't be able to feed their children or their family members, okay? So that's the specific problem that you can consider and write and make a list together with your partner, okay? So you've all listed out some problems that people might be facing nowadays because of the pandemic. Now let's categorize them. Let's put them into. Let's divide them into the themes. Okay. So we want to cluster them. For example, theme number 1, it could be medicine, and you write down the problems that you have on your list. The second theme could be business, and then you write down what problems people have. The next thing maybe
Health.
health, okay, and you write down here. So look at your list and try to categorize them. Put the things into categories. Alright, then together with your partner decide, choose one theme that you would like to address. And, possibly solve this problem by creating an app. Okay, so together with your partner, decide which theme you would like to address. Okay, now we are going to do some research. So you need to open your phones and find some apps that address the theme you chose. Okay, so what kind of apps people have already created? So maybe you can look at them and think what positive things that you liked, like strong things that this app has, and maybe some negative things, some problems that this app might have. For example, I like that the purpose of this app is excellent, but the negative thing could be it's not free. Not everyone can afford it. Okay? So I want you to work together with your partner and do some research. What kind of apps do people already have around the world? Okay, and write at least 3 positive things that you found about them, and maybe 3 negative things that you think could be improved. You can choose 1 or 2 things that you liked and 1 or 2 things that you think could be improved. Okay? Who wants to go first?
We chose.
Okay, Aydar. Booking.com.
It's about travel.
Uh-huh.
First one is negative and positive. Let's start with positive. First one is purpose. Then
They choose hotels.
Hotels.
You can
choose
choose
cars.
cars.
Then design, I think. Third one is price and some presents you can get. from this.
Some bonuses, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Then
Okay.
there are a lot of users.
We have one more app that's called Click Trip Plan, and the positive thing that it has plan lists where you can easily see the time, the place, the hotels, the prices, places that you can easily visit because of it's located nearby to your hotel. So I think it's a good point.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Moksha?
He was improvising and looking at the app while talking about it.
Okay.
We
Funny.
decided.
All right. Moksha, share some positive things that you found in the app. Okay. And
We
the theme.
decided to find an app with augmented reality. Because of coronavirus, you can't go somewhere to look for something or like shopping, some traveling problems and etc. So you can decide the model that's in app and like modelize it on your screen.
Okay.
You can put a marker and this model will stay here and you can walk and watch it.
Okay. Interesting.
So it's interesting at first. It has a clean interface and it's cool.
Okay. It's cool.
But the minuses is like You can take only photos.
Yes.
You can take only what?
Photos.
Only photos, so there are no videos.
Yes.
Okay, that's a pity. Okay. Now, since we already started talking about some negative things that could be improved, could you please share what are the things that could be improved in the apps that you found?
Interface.
Interface.
Information.
Information, so you would include more information, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry? Tech support. No tech support.
Normal photos.
Normal photos?
Yes.
Okay. So you're talking about the app that we have in Kyrgyzstan, right? The one that you were talking about.
Kinda.
Yeah. Kinda?
Yeah.
Okay.
Service?
Service. So you think that, you know, the technical support and service could be improved. So thank you.
Not all information is like that. You can read in the not all information is same from the app and in reality.
Oh, okay. So some things could be maybe, you know, exaggerated, right? Since we've already, you know, done some research and we already talked about some things that could be improved, why don't we move on to the solution, okay? So right now we're moving on to the design part, to the design section, where you need to design an app. And as you already know, some engineers or like engineers in general use criteria. Can you tell me what is criteria?
Something that need to be
followed.
Yes.
followed. Yeah.
Right, there's some kind of framework, some
Requirements.
rules, right. And constraints, what is constraint?
Construction.
Constraint is kind of like a limitation, okay? For example, your constraint could be the budget. For example, you have a limited budget and that's why you can't, for example, probably won't be able to design an excellent app that you wish because you don't have enough money.
1 million songs that we win in Helmut, yeah?
Yeah, so you're going to use that money today? Yeah, so your criteria is you need to design an app that needs to have a home screen, at least 2 additional screens, and 4 functional buttons, okay? At least 4 functional buttons. Functional buttons, they're like home screen, go back, go further, you know, these buttons that you have on the screen, on the app, okay? And at least 2 additional screens, for example, when you try to log in, the new window pops up, where you have to add your Gmail account or maybe like email, some password and etc. Okay, and then when you say sign up, it moves to the new screen. Okay, and of course, as a regular app, your app has to have a home screen. Okay.
Yes.
Right. Next. So why don't we spend some time and brainstorm? So what kind of home screen ideas you could have, what kind of additional screens you could have, and what kind of functional buttons you will have on your app. Okay. So I'll give you 5 minutes so you can discuss with your partner and decide what home screen, what additional screens, and what functional buttons you will have. Okay? You've already thought of your home screen, your additional screens, your functional buttons. Now, as I mentioned before, we're going to use a Marvel app. So now it's time for you to build it. Okay? But right now, why don't we look at how we use the Marvel app? Okay?
Okay, let's find out how to make a prototype of an app. When you've logged in, you need to create a project and give it a title. In this example, it's called My Pets App. Then choose the type of phone. I'm going to choose an iPhone X. Now I need to click Design, and that should give me the first screen of my app. So here it is, the first screen. It's blank at the moment, so I need to add elements to it. First thing I think I'll do is add a title. So I'm going to click on the T, but look, my title is really small, so I need to change the size of the font and make it bigger. On the right hand side I can see it's in the 20s, I'm going to make it 100. Now I'm going to move it to make it more central at the top.
Easy, right?
Yes.
Yes. So, what is hotspot, guys?
The area to tap the button.
Right, it's an active area that's kind of like a hyperlink. It connects the screens, okay, and buttons. All right. So, each of you will receive a laptop or an iPad, and you are ready to start building your app. Okay, so the minimum requirements were what? What were the criteria? You need to have
Homepage.
the home screen,
Two additional
screens, and
4 buttons.
at least 4 buttons. Okay. All right. Welcome back to our virtual teacher's room. I hope you enjoyed watching the demonstration lesson and you have paid attention to the activities that were done during the first stage of the lesson. So, Tolgane, what do you think? How did it all go?
I think it was a very interactive lesson. The very first thing I liked that it started with a hook. Teacher showed the pictures of different applications that we use in our everyday lives, and teacher was eliciting ideas from students. So that was engaging for them.
Yes, exactly. And since our students are very familiar with the apps, they could easily categorize them into categories and tell us that we have apps that are designed for games, for utilities, for business accounts, or for social networking, which is quite popular nowadays.
Yeah.
The lesson after this slowly moved on to the next stage. So what do you think was the next activity that I have done? And you're absolutely right. It was an introduction. Okay. And Tolgane, why do you think we need to include introduction in our lessons?
I think we talked about it earlier that introduction is a very important part of the lesson because it gives students a chance to activate their prior knowledge. They get ready for the discussion. They can think about what will we do in this lesson.
Yes, and it's an excellent way to slowly move from one stage to another. So you were kind of preparing our students to the main activity that was done later on, where the students design the application. So we can't just come to the class and say, hey, today you're going to design an application, here's the platform, do it, So that's why for this smooth transition to prepare our students, we use the introduction part.
Aygrim, tell us, what did you do during the introduction?
Well, specifically, this main part was devoted to making sure that students understand the engineering process, where the students face the problem or have the challenge, and since we've all experienced this pandemic for the past year, everyone was, our students were quite eager and quite open to share the problems that everyone faced around the world and especially in Kyrgyzstan. So that's why my main goal was to let the students know that today they're going to design an application to help, people in Kyrgyzstan and, people around the world get familiar with the, our tourism. And that's why they were given a role of software engineers, where they had to design an application that would popularize tourism in Kyrgyzstan.
I like that. It's not just like giving the students freedom to do what they want, but it's problem-based. So you give them a challenge, you give them a goal that's actually relevant to our setting, relevant to our needs, and in the end, eventually, maybe they will come up with something that we will end up using.
Yeah, and you know, that was the main goal of the activity, to get our students, you know, familiarized that, you know, the application building is not that much, you know, difficult. As long as you have thought of everything in details, and then you can easily, you know, move your ideas into the building the application. And you know, as we mentioned here, the students had a chance to list all the problems that they faced during the pandemic, and then they had to, you know, categorize them together, so they're all, you know, theme based. So for example, people, you know, the students were saying that people are facing health problems, medicine problems, you know, lack of jobs, and all of these different, you know, challenges that they have faced, their family members face, or their friends face. And then we had to kind of slowly categorize them into a bigger topic, so they could address the bigger topic and then design their applications based on this, you know, topic.
So it's basically preparing them to do a real research in their life.
Yeah, exactly.
They choose a topic, they brainstorm together, categorize information, and then choose on what to work on.
Yeah, and I think you've made a very good point here. So not only the students were, you know, looking at the problems and then defining the challenges, but they also had a chance, as you may have noticed, to analyze and research what are other apps that are already present nowadays. So they had to find an app that actually fits into their category, and then they had to analyze it and see what are the positive things that, you know, this app has, and what are the, you know, constraints that this app has. So for example, one group of students, you know, they looked at very famous application called Booking.com, and they said that, oh yeah, it's a very, you know, great tool to search for cars, search for hotels, and etc. But they said that, oh, it lacks some technical support, so we would like to improve that. We would like to create an application that, you know, has the similar purpose, but with a better technical support.
And these are the students who have never done any application development before, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we also had another group of students who said that, you know, since people cannot travel a lot, we want to make our Kyrgyzstan popular, and we want to show the other people that, you know, we have so many beautiful places. They would like to create an augmented reality, you know, where the students, I mean, where the people could actually visit the places in a virtual set, you know.
Wow, that would be a cool application.
Yeah, and I think that since we had a, you know, a constraint with a platform that does not allow that, or it requires quite a lot of time, they could not actually implement their idea. But, you know, I like that they're already thinking about the solutions for the problem, and that was the main, you know, goal for this demonstration lesson.
Okay, so after brainstorming and having all the ideas ready, students actually start designing their application right in the classroom, right?
Yes.
And what do they do? How do they design their application? Are there any criteria? Did you give them anything to base on?
Sure, yeah. Since we do not, I mean, since you could create, you know, your imagination to be, you know, the space. So that's why I needed to have some kind of constraints for the students, so they're, you know, able to better design their applications. Therefore, their constraint was to create an app that has a home screen, that must have a home screen, 2 additional screens, and 4, you know, buttons, active buttons that would, you know, that could be used in the app. So, for example, you have home screen, and when you press the home screen, it actually goes to the next screen, you know. So that's why that was the main criteria that I gave, and I also asked them to solve the problem that they chose. And for example, one group said that, you know, we want to face the problem that people are not able to come here physically. That's why we want to create an app that would show the Kyrgyzstan virtually. And the other app, I mean, the other group decided to create an application where they had some more information about hotels and you know, the car booking and etc.
Oh wow, that sounds really interesting. I like that students actually go through deep thinking, planning and organizing before they actually start building the application.
Yes, we gave them some time to work together and to think how their app would look like, what kind of active buttons they would have, what kind of additional screens they would have, so they are able to better you know, design when they move on to the freer practice part. And in the, as you noticed in the controlled part, you know, after the introduction, we had the more controlled part where the students had to design on paper before moving on and having this hands-on activity and hands-on experience of building and designing an app. And since I've already started talking about, you know, the hands-on activity, please make sure to come back for our next discussion, because we're going to talk about free practice where the students had the freedom to design their apps to see their results as well.
Yeah, can't wait to see that.
Yeah, hopefully you will come back. And if you have any ideas or any thoughts or comments you would like to share, please do not forget to use our Lingua's Facebook or Instagram pages. We would love to hear your thoughts as well. So hope you enjoyed today's discussion and see you next time.
Bye-bye.